Attached this portion of the video to the video that I did regarding Trump not being able to obtain. No, you know something? This deserves its own separate video. I'm going to keep this separate. This has to do with Trump screwing people, robocalling the residents of Cuyahoga County during the subprime mortgage debacle.
And check. But there's a Cleveland story that you won't hear much about during the four-day extravaganza. A story that takes us back nearly a decade ago when the housing bubble peaked and then burst, ravaging neighborhoods in Cleveland and across the nation. Turns out Donald Trump, through his business seminar program, Trump University, taught students how to cash in on the mortgage foreclosures, like the ones that we see right here in Cleveland, for financial gain. And joining me now is Cleveland City Councilman Anthony Brancatelli and Cleveland-based journalist Daniel McGraw. Thank you both for being here. So Daniel, I'll start with you. Tell us about this story about Trump University and the crash that took place here.
Well, all this was going on in Cleveland in like sort of 2005 to 2007. Everyone was seeing that the foreclosure mess was hitting hard here. A lot of subprime loans, and the banking regulators and a lot of the business people were seeing that this might be going off a cliff. And some responded, some didn't. Trump responded by setting up a kind of fake school where he's going to teach people how to make money off of foreclosed properties. And he did this in seminars, and there's been lawsuits involved. But it hit hard here because it wasn't just the banks that were involved. It was Trump and other people teaching people how to flip properties, use fake names, and it made the mess much, much worse.
And Councilman Brancatelli, what did that do to the neighborhoods like the ones that you represent?
It was devastating. When you see this many properties that are being foreclosed on, and they're being passed back and forth with reckless disregard, that kind of flipping really caused a lot of social unrest in our communities, abandoned properties, houses that were stripped, and a loss of property values that is unprecedented.
Yeah, I want to play you from CNN. There was this pretty extraordinary interview with a former Trump University instructor, and he talks about what they were pushed to do, and let's take a listen to that.
Here's an email you wrote. I just spoke to Austin and Irene, the older retired couple who had to pull the $30,000 balance for the gold, and she said it's done and should be in Monday.
That's called sales.
Is that called ripping off an old couple?
Absolutely not.
And Austin and Irene?
Again, I never saw that email, but that is sales. That's a typical sales email between two salespeople working on a deal. I don't know if those people had the money or not. They could have been putting up the last dollar. I don't know.
And BuzzFeed has put out, sort of the ads that were being run in newspapers for Trump University that said, if you're not a millionaire by December 2008, you didn't attend my foreclosure workshop. Investors nationwide are making millions in foreclosures, and so can you. Is that what was being done here in Cleveland?
Yes, in a sense. Sort of Trump wasn't doing a lot of his seminars in Ohio that much. He was concentrating in the southern states because there's more money there. But I think a telling thing was the sort of Texas Attorney General's office had a study they did in 2009 and said the training material we received indicate that the Trump University three-day seminar attendees are taught to prey upon homeowners' financial turmoil and to target foreclosed properties. Now, it's coming from the Texas AG's office. It's saying that Trump is not only fraudulent in his dealings with the students, but he's telling people to prey on this stuff.
Yeah,
and the funny thing about it is Texas decided not to join or create their own lawsuit against Trump. I wonder why. There is a lawsuit that is pending right now as far as the state of Texas is concerned, and the AG at that time for some cashola, shall we say. And there's also a lawsuit pending in Florida with Pam Bondi, again, for some potential cashola. And that one is red hot because there's actual documentation where she said that she was going to file a lawsuit against Trump. she claims that that didn't happen, but they were able to pull up the newspaper reports of her stating this, and shortly thereafter, a nice-sized campaign contribution came into her coffers, and that potential lawsuit was dropped.
You know that the Texas Attorney General ended up withdrawing that investigation, and so did the Florida Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who is going to be speaking here. That's interesting. I want to play you guys really quickly what the New York Attorney General, who didn't drop the investigation, Attorney A.G. Schneiderman in New York, had to say about this very thing, and this was on Morning Joe back on July 2nd.
It's fraud. This is a straight up fraud. It's like selling people something you say is a Mercedes and it turns out to be a Volkswagen. And even if some people say, well, I actually kind of like the Volkswagen, it's still fraud because it's not a Mercedes.
And so you've seen Texas, you've seen Florida, you know, the first two were withdrawn, you've seen New York. Why hasn't the Ohio Attorney General looked into this?
Well, our Attorney General has been looking into this, not necessarily with Trump, but with other partners and other players who've been doing this. I have showed up at some of the hotels where they've done these seminars. I've been going after them. Our Attorney General actually has gotten some big settlements, and the good news is DeWine has used those settlements to help deal with the aftermath of the foreclosure crisis, which is abandoned properties, demolition, clearing the table because we have a lot of distress left behind. So after one, it's been going after many. And so they've done a good job of getting settlements, which is why many of these folks drop these after a period of time.
Sure.
They get the settlements necessary to help clean up the mess.
And were there significant numbers of people who have come forward to say they were defrauded in Ohio? I mean, could this wind up in campaign commercials here?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of the story. Part of the story is that he was selling this fake school idea how he was going to teach people, but a lot of people aren't focusing on what he was teaching. He was not only defrauding the attendees at his seminars, he was telling them to defraud other people as well. So it's kind of, I mean that he was teaching people how to use shell corporations, fake names and everything to buy 100 properties and keep flipping them and then not pay the taxes and then just kind of dump them, okay? So he was doing more than just defrauding the attendees. He was helping to sort of put on a lot of cities like Cleveland another layer.
Yeah, but what do you say, Councilman Brancatelli? People say, you know what, we know this about Donald Trump, but he's still a businessman, he's still a billionaire, he's still hired more people than Hillary Clinton ever has, and so what? What do you say to people who are still with Donald Trump, die hard, and they look at this information, they listen to these AGs, and they just don't care?
It's pretty sad that people have compartmentalized what we're willing to accept about someone's character or what we're willing to separate on their moral values. When you're willing to compromise your moral values that way, that's not what a leader should be. We have folks who have to step up and take responsibility. When all you can say is, I'll bankrupt that next company, I'll move on to the next chapter, you can't do that in human lives. You can't do that in neighborhoods. And we're losing entire neighborhoods because of the activities that these folks have done.
You know, I'm wondering, Marco Rubio went after Donald Trump pretty solidly on this issue. The governor of this state did not. John Case, who will not, by the way, be attending, very interestingly enough, he will not set foot in that arena from what we understand. Why didn't he use this more, do you think?
Well, I think if you sort of watch John Kasich and how he's dealt with his campaign for president and in Ohio, he's tended to run towards the middle. Okay, and that's probably why he's not in the race anymore. So he's not taking any kind of views on this.
Yeah.
He's been working kind of like in the background, Tony.
But on a local governmental level, this is clearly something that you guys are thinking a lot about.
Yes, this is a big issue. What's been very sad, and I can't wait until we get past these, so we can start talking about the housing market, we can start talking about real things in our neighborhoods, because no one's been touching that issue. 8 years ago, we had a forum at Cleveland City Council. We brought in Hillary Clinton's campaign, we brought in Barack Obama's campaign, their advisors came in. We had a great session talking about what's going on in our neighborhoods. We got to get past some of the international, all of the name calling, everything that's getting people riled up, and get to some really bricks and mortar and how we're going to fix our communities and our neighborhoods.
Yeah, well said. Councilman Tony Brancatelli, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. So just another instance where they can pull up commercials and nail Trump on profiting from people's pain. Trump is a prick.